This is 99% Craps.
Hard 10, hard 10. Here's the number.
I'll take the full odds on the 10, 200 on the hard way. The limit on all the numbers, 250 on the 11. Thank you very much.
Say, you played this game before.
Just once.
Welcome to the Red Eye Gamblers podcast. High above the second largest city, west of the Mississippi. Two chronic craps players, talking craps, playing craps, thinking craps. This is 99% Craps.
Coming up on our 16th episode of 99% Craps, we resume with part 2 of our June casino road trip, analyzing strategies and discussing betting styles. Also, post-trip reports from the casinos of Lake Charles, Louisiana, the Isle of Capri, LAUBERGE du Lac, and the Golden Nugget. Thursday, August 1st, 2019, episode 16. The Red Eye Gamblers present 99% Craps. Well, I guess we've got a few minutes for Isle of Capri update and review. We are now on our way to the Golden Nugget and LAUBERGE from Isle of Capri, where we actually have spent about the last 2 hours.
Which is probably a little bit more than we had really planned on it.
That's I wouldn't say extended stay. That's a full.
That's a session.
That's a full session.
For sure.
Well, because it was a full session because I don't know about you, but I was down a couple hundred and had to slow play my way back into being positive. Actually, I was up. No, I left up. Plus 200.
Yeah, we both left up money, which is always a good thing.
Absolutely. But I would say that I had a little bit of patience.
Well, I think we both definitely.
I don't know that always worked, or the patience is actually something that you need at a table.
Well, yeah, I think you need it to a certain degree, but I felt I've played.
Patience, I don't think is the right word.
You picked your spots.
Yeah, it's you chose where to play. And
especially since you weren't placing as many bets, you kind of do make them more strategic when you're not playing as many bets.
Yeah, when you don't consistently make the same bet each time, and you're thinking per shooter versus I'm going to play, this offense the entire time.
Right.
Instead, okay, for this shooter I'm going to do this, and for that shooter I'm going to do that. And it was working out. There was a couple of guys that actually had some decent rolls that we didn't capitalize on it, but at the same time we didn't lose a lot of money either.
Well, actually, even on the long rolls, I still ended up either breaking even or making a little bit because I was on the don't side.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
But I, limited the number of bets I had made, and so by the time they did 7 out, I was okay. I was in a decent spot.
Yeah, no, we did. How did you do with your strategy?
Well, I thought I was, able to play a little bit more fluidly. There were some points I played positively on the first point because it was a 6 or an 8, and wasn't putting a huge amount of money out there, but had quite a few first points hit, and I was one of the things I found that was really helping me was I was keeping track of the number of rolls.
Right.
And if I was playing positive and they got to 6 or 7 rolls and they had not hit the point yet, then I was probably pulling down and maybe switching.
Yeah.
So there were sometimes I was playing multiple strategies within one roll, within 1 point.
Sure.
Based on the number of rolls they had gone, and I did it with that one guy. He was shooting for a 5, and I was up on the positive side, and he got to like 8 rolls, and so I pulled my positive odds down, and then followed up with I laid on the don't.
Give yourself to the dark side.
And then put a DC up and got a couple of those up, and then he ended up 7ing out 3 rolls later, and I ended up making money.
Yeah.
So, made a little on the positive side, and then was able to catch the back side. And I found that counting the rolls, keeping track of each of the rolls number-wise,
oh, sure.
Was really making a difference to me because, the game becomes so fast that sometimes you lose track of how many rolls somebody has. And I mean, and to me, there's a big difference between somebody who's rolled 8 rolls and 13 rolls.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, that the one good way to track most of that is watching the bonus bet. Because they'll track it, but they won't do repeaters, and so therefore, if some guy is pounding 8s, you need to really be noticing that. Or if you're just counting total roll, then total roll.
Yeah. Well, I do look at the ATS in conjunction with my total number of rolls so that I do know what numbers have hit.
Yeah.
But I did find that to be a very helpful activity that I was doing.
I think it's a good idea to keep track of points too.
I was doing that too. I was counting.
I was going to say I could think of a system. What were you doing?
Well, I was counting single rolls with white chips, and then when I got to 4, and then it would hit, for the 5th roll, then I'm putting a red chip up.
Well, that's just counting to 5.
Well, exactly. You count 5 and 9 and then 10, and then a green chip was a point.
Oh, okay. So I was just going to say you could do white chips and the red chip was the point, but the odds of them getting more than 10. What are you doing? You're only using 2 red chips. What are you talking about? Might as well just.
Well, a couple of guys before us had a couple 18 and 19, 20 rolls.
I know. And which side were you on?
Well, that one guy that pounded 8s, I was not on that one.
I was so pissed off.
I mean, I made money on the backside of it.
Although I did put money on the 8 and was able to get it back up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I was chasing. I wasn't chasing. I was following.
Well, and I think we, for the first time in a long time, were able to kind of play with the trends at the table. I think we were more in tune this time than we normally are, and I hope, if we end up playing at Golden Nugget or LAUBERGE, I hope we can get back to that where we're being able to.
Don't be foreshadowing too much.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I plan on. It's only 2:00. We got 2 more hours of play.
Right, because we have to stay so I can have a 3rd crock pot.
I'm losing track of the crock pots that we have now.
My wall of appliances is becoming quite large. Well, and you know me, those are things I wouldn't normally buy just because I have an oven and I have a stove. I never had bought them because.
Yeah, no, those are wedding gifts. Actually, if anything, that's what we can do now is to say, hey, we're available for weddings. We've got great, appliances to give out as gifts.
I should have thought about that because I just missed the deadline for an RSVP for a wedding.
See, you +1, you and your gift. Well.
Oh, there were some funny people at the table.
Dude, they were talkative.
Well, I'll tell you, the guy at Right Stick won. When we first walked up, he probably had 2,000 in front of him. And then he had a couple of bets where he was on the don't with like $100 don't pass.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
One time, I don't know how much he had in green chips, but they were stacked a good 7 or 8 inches. So I was guessing 900 or 1,000, somewhere in there. And he won that one, but then he kept losing, and then I saw he had to go back and get more cash, so he ended up losing all that 2,000.
Yeah.
And we just kept playing and kept playing. I mean, we saw a lot of action. We weren't making a lot of $10 bets, but we were making a lot of $25, $30, $45, $50 bets. And, we were betting more than most people at the table were.
Yeah, but again, we were being strategic when we were doing those bets.
Right, and we weren't laying out the net to try to catch everything. We're trying to be more precision fishermen.
Well, it's knowing which point it is and what they're going after. I mean, I'm still telling you the way to go is flat bet on the don't, though.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
I love it, but I mean
granted, okay, so we're at Isle of Capri, and for those of you that haven't been to Isle of Capri, Isle of Capri is a riverboat in Lake Charles, and it's been around for a good number of years, and they have 2 craps tables. Both are approximately 12 footers.
Oh no, they're bigger than that.
Are they bigger? Or so
they're
about
16.
14? No,
14.
They're not 16.
14?
Yeah, 14. Yeah, if they feel a little bit bigger, they're 14s. We know 16s. 16s you get scared of. 16s are at freaking LAUBERGE.
Yeah.
You're scared of those. big table scare you?
I can't throw that many grams across that many feet.
Yeah. Anyway, so
it's it's a homey place. We like the feel of it.
I don't like the feel of it at all. I like the dealers.
You do like the dealers.
The crew that was playing tonight or this afternoon is the crew that I know, and I used to, when I was coming up on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Fridays and Sundays. They were the morning crew. They're the season crew. They don't have to work nights. They can make their money during the day, and they know their shit, and they're funny, and they don't like idiots as much as I don't like idiots, and we both can make fun of them at the same time without them knowing, and that's fun. Is when you've got when you and the dealers have inside jokes going on about the guys around the table.
Right.
That's hysterical, because those guys are completely oblivious. They're the ones that are putting $100 on the pass line and $10 in odds.
Right.
or like was happening with the guy next to me. He wanted to make sure that he got his $18 6 on before the come out, and then the dealer says off on the come out, and he's like, okay, yeah. I'm like, well, why did you rush to put in the fucking?
Well, and then the one kid next to me that was playing a lot of field bets. But then he was
Dewey Doughton and playing the field
at first, but then he wasn't doing that once I got there.
I thought he was doing that just to roll the dice.
Yeah, maybe.
But I didn't notice.
But then he was playing a lot of the field bets. But then he ended up playing big 8, big 6, and I just thought, 25, you're getting even money. You could have at least got 28.
I know exactly what it was. He was hearing us say 6 and 8 because we were playing with the dealer, and he just didn't want to give money to the dealer because he didn't know what to do. When he places money on the field bet or the 6 and 8,
he's able to put it there.
Nobody yells at him. Nobody says he's doing anything right or wrong. So I could see somebody just being, okay, well, it's a 6 and an 8, and that's what they said. And I get paid when it hits.
Yeah, but he was losing. I mean, you're losing $3.
I think, the percentage of people who know what they're supposed to get paid.
Oh, close to 0. Well, some do.
You know your bet, but
yeah, you usually know what your bet pays because, at first we had a new dealer today. Well, and I mean, you could tell he's dealt other things, but craps is new to him. And
there's a rhythm you need to.
And so he was still learning it, but when you had 42 up, I thought it was going to take him. He actually got it faster than I thought he was going to get that. That it paid 49. I didn't know that he was going to figure that out quite as quick.
No, he was the new guy to the crew. But I mean, if they like him, I like him, and it's you got to spend time with him.
Yeah, well, he seemed okay. He was young, and he was. You could tell he was dexterous with the chips, he was nimble.
I thought he could be a little sharper.
Well, he will.
He didn't seem very sharp.
Yeah, I think once he learns it a little bit. I think he was a little timid.
Well, it's also Sunday morning. He actually could be working with another crew too.
Yeah.
He could be doing more, pulling more shifts.
Yeah.
Our famous intersection where if you can't get through it, you can't go gambling.
I don't like this intersection at all.
That's okay. And we made it through, so we can go gamble.
Woohoo!
So
well, and I mean,
anyway,
I think
keep going on Isle of Capri. I mean, we did what we said we were going to do. We slow played a little bit. We got ourselves established.
We mixed it up. We didn't just play one way.
No. We were paying very close attention to who was rolling well and then who was up next. That's the whole thing. The whole 2 good rollers back to back wasn't happening. Although 6s and 8s were hot, and so just simple playing. And first points weren't always going.
No, they were not.
11s were hopping. 11s.
And then we did have a couple of I think 3 times we had back to back points made and won. Because I think I lost 3 times.
I was going to say there were actually a couple of times when it was 3 10s in a row. It was back to back to back. And on the 4s.
But I'll tell you, the biggest thing about playing more of a flat bet than playing with odds is, and I am doing a mixture of it because I'm playing odds on
I think you have to.
But I think The difference is, and with that in mind, you also have to limit the number of bets you're going to make per person. And that was my thing. Is a couple of times I had lost, and I was like, well, I want to catch up,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And so, but instead of doing that, I said, okay, you know, the dice are going to keep moving.
I was
so
thinking catching
and
up
I
on
still,
the next person.
well, and I still maybe had 1 or 2 bets active. So it wasn't as if I didn't have money still in play. But you know, automatically you always want to go back up with another bet. You know, your nature is just to, I want to put, you know,
Yeah.
replenish that bet because I want to win it. But you know, you're going to risk, you know, you lost 25, now you're going to risk 50 to win, to break even.
Right,
you know,
to break even.
Maybe it's just take
That
that 20,
second bet's usually to break even.
you know, just take that $25 loss and take it on the chin a little bit and just play the next person.
Well, and that's the thing.
Or play a different bet.
How long are you going to play? And yeah, you don't have to make everything on the one player. I mean, you'll get caught, you know, if a guy has a decent roll and you can bleed it out, it's horrible. So.
No, I had commented on the way up here that I wanted to try to be a little bit more fluid in my play style.
Yeah, did you feel, you felt like you were?
I felt like
you were liquid.
I felt like I was liquid. I felt like I was able to play. I know I did zig and zag the wrong time on a few of them, but I felt like for the most part I was in the right place at the right time with my chips. And I mean, I think that was being patient and playing. This was probably one of the most disciplined sessions we both have had in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, it felt I always felt in control.
Well, I mean, it's not that I feel out of control, but I just feel.
Well, no, I mean, but there's sometimes where you're like, I really got to do something different. I've got to change things in order to catch up.
Well, see, but I was already doing different things, so I didn't have to think that way. I was already. Yeah. My plan was to do
that's
different
true.
things.
Wow, that's the thing. Your plan. You spent enough time on your plan.
Well, and I mean, you played similar. You were positive and negative. It just depended on the situation.
Yeah, it was trying. So there was a couple of things I was doing. There was one where, you know, guy was again, it's situational. You know, the guy's been rolling for, you know, 10 minutes. He's got, you know, 12 points.
Rolls,
you know, shift change is about to happen.
12 points or 12 rolls?
Rolls, excuse me. Nobody rolled 12 points.
No, nobody did.
So, anyway, rolls. So, anyway, so that's kind of that tipping point of, okay, this is the time. It's like, you know, 6th inning with the baseball game. You know, this is the time where the pitcher, you know, this is his last inning.
I mean, that was what I was saying, was keeping count of those rolls was helping.
So, yeah, so that, you know, on which point it was, you know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th point, then you throw up, you know, some odds things here and there on a don't bet.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
It was working out pretty well.
Well, for example, I think one guy, the point was 6 or 8, and I had played positive and I put some odds on it, and he hit it within the very first or second roll after establishing it. And then his second point ended up being the other one. So, you know, whatever it was, 6 and then 8. And so, you know, come second roll, I really wanted to play the don't on him.
Give yourself to the dark side.
Because I'm figuring, okay, but this time it was so early in his roll, and it was still one of the big numbers. You know, if it had been a 10, it would have been a different story. But because it was the other big numbers, 6 and 8, I thought, okay, well, let me, you know, I think I actually played positive for a second point and won that one.
And then the
third point played negative and won that one.
I think that's it. Is we've been thinking about first point and then switching on second point. It's really first 2 points and then probably switching third, fourth.
We say that, but I guess this was the point to what I was saying is because he did it in the first couple rolls.
Yes.
But now, if his point was 6 or 8 and it took him 10 rolls to get it, and then his second point was the opposite, 6 or 8, then I'm probably not going to play it the same way.
No, yeah. No, the odds of him making that second point diminished
after that many rolls.
After 8+ rolls, then yeah, and I think that's the other thing is we're thinking of, you know, these rolls as maybe, you know, the first 8 and the second 8, and then after that is a plus.
Now, this didn't, well, I guess I did it, but in between, okay, let's say he hits an early point, and then he rolls 2 or 3 sevens on his come out, and then he establishes the other 8. Do you have the confidence in the guy? See, I would say I wouldn't have the confidence if he
Not
just rolled
anymore,
that many
no.
sevens, you know. And at that point, you won your first bet, so maybe now it's time to, you know, ask for a drink and relax for a second before.
Well, there were actually quite a few sevens on the come out today.
Yeah, there were.
And so, I mean,
See, and
that's when I switched over to the Dewey
Well,
Don't, because I lost my 75 a couple of times.
And what's funny is I really didn't pay attention because it didn't affect me. I lost my pass line to 112.
That's the thing. I was paying attention to how many things were rolling, and then I was putting my bet after a couple of times it already happened.
Yeah, see, but I wasn't paying attention to the come out roll because I was protected. I was paying attention to the other aspects of the game.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's see if we can do it again.
Yeah, let's mosey on into the Golden Nugget and see what it's looking like.
Right.
And I think I'm going to try to keep a similar play, be fluid at the table, and I would like to say I'm going to be more aggressive, but to be honest with you, I'm going to try to play the exact same denominations.
I will say you can't, because it will not be a $10 table. It is going to be $15 or $25 table, and odds are it's probably going to be 25. So you're going to have to change everything.
Yeah. Well, then we need to think about that before we play. So that'll be a conversation we'll have right before we play.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, that was the thing. The Isla Capri, the 2 tables that they had one working, and it was $10 minimum with $20 times odds. So no, it was good, and it was.
I mean, to be honest with
you,
you,
there's 10 people.
I don't know that a $15 table would really affect how I was playing.
15 wouldn't, but 25 will.
Yeah, 25 will.
Yeah. That's just going to put us to our 3 and a 2 unit 1.
I was going to say, I mean, we've got.
Yeah, we can make it work. You're just going to be more selective.
This is true.
I mean,
well, good luck. Let's see how it goes.
Yep.
Cheers.
All right. Adios. All right, and now we're leaving the Golden Nugget. On our way home.
7:43. We stayed.
It's been a long day.
Spent a good amount of time, but we also visited 3 casinos.
That is true. We did go to LAUBERGE as well.
But we're getting to leave after here, watch this guy. We're getting to leave after a very successful day.
Yeah. Yeah, we were able to. Come out with a win.
I felt like at least I did, and I think you did too, but I think I definitely was able to stay fluid like I talked about. Didn't bet just one style, bet numerous styles depending on where I thought, you know, the dice were going, and today, more often than not, I was correct.
Yeah.
I limited my losses per person. I didn't chase. But we also played a lot of positive.
Yeah, it was a good mix, actually.
So that's where we always get in trouble, is when we're playing the don't and we start chasing.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
And I managed to not do that today.
Well, we definitely mixed it up with don't bets and positive bets on the same shooter. You know, and you know, you didn't play first point much, did you?
I did. If the first point was 6 or 8, I did.
Oh, but from your Dewey Don't though.
Correct, from my Dewey Don't. And that was why I wanted to play the Dewey Don't, because it gave me the flexibility to decide if I wanted to play on the first point or the second point. I could play positive or negative. And the funny thing is I usually played 6 or 8 when it was positive, and that didn't always work out, but a couple of times it was a 10 or a 4, and I went negative, and they ended up rolling it back to back actually a couple of times. And those always hurt. But, you know, fortunately I was keeping my bets down to a reasonable size, and so even one hit didn't hurt that much. You just, you know, had to back off a little bit. You know, if you already took a one loss with a shooter, then you back up a little bit.
Good.
And that seemed to work out okay for me today. You know, when I was aggressive a little bit, it seemed like I was doing it at the right times. I zigged and zagged with you once. It cost me a couple $100, which kind of really upset me, because you were going to roll. It was your roll, and I decided to play don't.
Give yourself to the dark side.
And then you hit a couple
Yeah.
numbers, and then I decided to go to the other side, and then you 7'd out.
Yeah. I was out of position, so there's really no trusting what I can do when I'm out of position.
Well, and then one of the things that I'm terrified of is having you roll while you're playing the don't.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
Oh yeah, no.
And I was smart enough to not even play you.
I
I
hit.
just backed off and watched the comedy.
Well, we were okay. So this was like the last. Well, it was at LAUBERGE.
So it was the last.
So from just to chronicle our trip. So we went to Isle of Capri when we first got here, and then from there we went to Golden Nugget, and then after Golden Nugget we went to LAUBERGE, and then from LAUBERGE we went back to Golden Nugget. So on our LAUBERGE trip, I just played, and it was a $25 table, and I saw an opportunity for a guy who had bad karma at the table, and so I thought I'd play just my $25 don'ts.
Give yourself to the dark side.
Well, and I thought about playing with you, but this was the third casino of the day, and I was already up a good amount, so I didn't feel like I needed to risk any of my profit.
No, and I was.
But I felt like I would have made money right along with you if I had played. But it's okay. I made more than enough to satisfy me.
Yeah. But yeah. So we were at LAUBERGE. I was at LAUBERGE, and what was the story I was going to tell?
Well, you saw the opportunity with the guy who lit the bad cigar. And
Well, yeah, there was a guy with bad karma, and so
he had a controversial
I knew the table wasn't
T-shirt
gonna be,
on.
I knew it wasn't going to be a very
And actually, he
positive table.
didn't really do anything, to be honest with you. I mean, he was pretty quiet. I didn't hear anything. Of course, we were on the other side of the table, but I didn't hear anything.
No, it was
from
just
him.
a sign.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be good. But so what ended up happening is everybody was playing the don't,
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
and nobody wanted to throw the dice. And so the table was just sitting there with nobody rolling. There's 4 or 5 people at the table, but nobody wanted to roll the dice.
Everybody was playing don't.
And the couple times that there were people there, they rolled the dice and everybody's betting don't on them.
Give yourself to the dark side.
And so it basically scared them off. And so there was really nothing you could do. So I had to play. I had to roll. And
Somebody had to step up.
I rolled once positive already, and it freaking sucked. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll throw, and then I'll throw negative. And so I just chicken toss them out there a couple times. I'm throwing it all sorts of different ways, and I think I end up hitting like 3 or 4 points.
While you're playing don't.
Yes, I was on the
yourself.
don't.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
I finally won. I think I finally won, and I finally had enough DCs out there where I actually kind of broke even. But yeah, it was nasty. It's stupid. I end up hitting all these numbers when I'm playing on the don't on myself.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
It's crazy. This is more than several times now. You've seen it more than once.
That's why I wouldn't have played. I told you I would have backed off and.
But I didn't have a choice. Nobody else was rolling. So, but I did end up making a little bit of money. Okay, so we got into Golden Nugget after Isle of Capri. Golden Nugget still has their usual four tables back to back, and then 2 tables off the side. 6 tables total. One crapless was working at $15. Then 2 other tables were working at $15, and then one was at $25.
No, they were actually all.
Oh
at
no, they were
15.
all at $15, weren't they?
They were all at 15.
That was weird that they went up. And then the table we were at ended up getting pushed up to $50.
Well, that was just because they wanted to close.
Yeah,
it.
we realized that was what they were doing. It was kind of funny because we got grandfathered in at $15, and they were telling everybody no because it was a $50 table, but all our bets were like $15. So they were like, "What the hell?"
Well, and at Golden Nugget, I was down.
So how did it start? You came from being up at Isle of Capri,
Yeah.
and you were going to do the same thing.
And I did. Well, at first there wasn't but a couple of players, and so it was me, you, and only one or two other guys for a while. And I don't know. To me, I wanted to play positive because it was such a small table, and I felt like I was going to get the dice back fairly quickly. So it was an opportunity to play some, positive play and hopefully get some rolls in.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out at the beginning, lost a few bets here and there. But, I was down not that much, just a few hundred. But at one point I was down a little bit below 50% of what I started with. But then a couple people hit. I think one guy hit the ATS and I had a small piece of it. I didn't have a full piece of it, but I had a small piece of it.
Yeah.
And then I hit it once, and so I had a bigger piece on it that time. So that helped get me out of the hole, and actually I ended up, but I didn't play at Isle Capri. I played a lot more mixture at Golden Nugget because it was for the most part, it was a smaller table with, not as many shooters. I ended up rolling, and I ended up having some good rolls. I say some good rolls. I had probably
like three good rolls.
I had one roll that was like 18 rolls, and then I had, I think, 3 or 4 rolls that were like 10 to 12 a piece.
Yeah.
So that there was, there was some numbers rolled, and,
And I had one good roll, but I didn't want to roll.
Well, at Golden Nugget, I didn't have the same mixture that I did at Isle Capri, but it was a different table, But I felt like I read both situations well because, I walked away with a nice chunk of money.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the crew was decent and oblivious. They were doing their own thing, which was fine. They were paying us when we needed to get paid.
Well, that one kid that just kept rattling off all these different hypothetical questions.
No, that's at least entertaining. Keeps his mind sharp.
Guess who was rolling when he was talking about that mainly? I was.
Well, at least
you ask a
wasn't
question,
on
and in my
purpose.
head I have to come up with an answer.
You don't have to be listening to that.
That's an A or B answer, so I picked one.
You weren't focused.
I was trying to be, but I could just, I don't know, for some reason I could hear his voice over everybody because he was actually across the way from me.
Yeah, he got to you, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
I still had some good rolls. It didn't affect me in a poor way.
That's what I was going to say. You're used to us practicing.
We're talking about practice, man. How silly is that, man? We're talking about practice.
With, plenty of interruptions and...
Oh, yeah. No, I think it used to bother us. I think it used to bother us, but I think we've gotten much more comfortable at a craps table that, nothing really does. We're not as sensitive to it as we used to be, I think.
Sure.
I didn't really see any superstitions hit off today.
Both dice went off the table.
But we did see both dice go off the table today, and it is not that rare. I want to say that's the first time.
It is very rare.
It is very rare. I want to say that's the first time I've ever seen that happen.
Yeah, I think that's the first time we've ever seen it. I think we've heard about it from a dealer, but that's like the rarest of rarities.
To get one to go off and one to stay on happens all the time, but to get both of them to go off
unintentionally, not like you're throwing overhand.
Yeah, he wasn't throwing it crazy. It just happened to hit and bounce.
A perfect bounce on a bouncy table.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. And I turned my bets off, but he didn't roll a 7. And I waited one more roll, and he didn't roll a 7 then either. I thought both dice maybe 2 rolls.
Well, sometimes I do 2 rolls on 1 die.
Yeah.
So 2 dice, maybe you should multiply it by 2 and go. They should have held on for 4.
I think I got picked off.
I thought today was kind of like one of the first times that we're able to integrate that many different game plans, because a lot of times we'll say, yeah, we're gonna play this way, we're gonna play that way, and then we just get stuck in our groove. And we talk about people making the exact same bets.
Yeah.
And but you know, we're playing the numbers because it's 6 and 8, but you know, still you kind of need to be able to go with that flow. And I think today we were able to be a little bit more on top of that and make the plays that had our money in the best places. You know, still gambling, but I felt like we were making educated moves that, you know, put us in the best position to be profitable.
Yeah.
I did make, you know, I mean, and I had, and today, you know, there's a lot of times I'll say, oh, I don't really feel like I made any mistakes, but today, you know, I felt like I made a couple mistakes because in my head I told myself I should have turned off my bets or pulled them back, and I ended up waiting one more roll, and then the 7 was rolled, and to me that was a mistake because
you left it exposed too long.
Well, usually, what's funny is when we I didn't think about it like this, but probably, you know, usually we have $150, $90 bets up there. These were as big, so I guess I didn't worry about them as much, I guess. And maybe in my head, because I wasn't really doing a regression, I was leaving them out there and then just turning them off, or, you know, so I did make a couple mistakes that I would have liked to have, because if I had turned off my 2 bets one time, I would have made money on the don't.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
And still had those 2 bets, and that would have been huge instead of losing those 2 bets and, you know, basically breaking even.
Yeah.
And so I did make a couple mistakes today that, you know, but this was our first time that we were playing, and I found, you know, like if you're playing pass line in just 6 and 8, you always need to pay attention, because those guys at LAUBERGE got screwed out of their chip because they didn't pay attention. But, you know, if you're only playing the 6-8 and pass line, not so bad. But when you're playing positive and negative at the same time, and you've got bets that are that you have placed that you get paid for, and then your DC goes to that spot, you need to remember to pull that, you know, that positive bet down, your place bet down, so that you can just have your DC up there. It's a lot more going on.
Oh, it's a ton going on. Well, and then what I was doing too was, you know, I had a big amount on the don't.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
And I was starting to get nervous that they were going to come through with it, so I started betting, you know, big on the line just to offset, you know, that big bet. That I wouldn't lose that big chunk. I'd lose a smaller amount of that chunk, not a big amount of that chunk. You know, hedging my big bet down. So, and then sure enough, you know, 7 came, and I didn't get my big bet. I just got a small piece, but it was that anxiety that it was out there too long. It was out there too long. But that's gambling, right?
No, it is. And I mean, I pulled up a couple of times, and I mean, it hit, you know, the bet would have hit a couple more times here and there. But I mean, to be honest with you, I think just in the long run, you're better off keeping your money. You know, I mean, putting it out there and trying to make some money. You know, if you can get a hit or two, great. But at some point, I think you just have to pull it back. And you know, for example, if you've got 2 $30 6s and 8s, and if it hit twice and they're paid for, but it's a 10th roll, and you leave it out there instead of pulling it back, you've got to hit it twice more to break even.
Yeah.
And if you've already hit it twice, you made your money, pull your bets back, live to fight another war or battle. Yeah, I didn't do very much regression at all today. But I think I told you this earlier, I think one of the things that really helped me go with the flow of the game was definitely keeping track of the number of rolls that each player was going, because you know, if a come out roll came a 6 or an 8, then I'm going to probably play the positive and put some odds behind my DOEY don't, and then play the sister to it. So if the point was 8, I'm going to probably put 30 on the 6 and put, you know, 25 on the 8. But how many rolls are you going to leave it out there for? You know, I mean, so I was keeping count, and then by the 5th or 6th roll, whether he hit 1 or 2 or nothing yet, then I'm going to put a DC up there, and once I get a DC up there, then I'm probably pulling my positive bets.
Yeah.
And then I would pull it off the point and just let that be nothing, and then just have a DC up there. And, you know, things like that, where those type of plays were working because I was playing both sides, you know, and I had an opportunity to make money on the front side. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. And then on the back side, I would put some money in, and, you know, if they rolled, you know, I got knocked off quite a few times, you know, I mean, that's part of the game, but I didn't chase. I was finally able to, I finally had a good couple sessions that I can say I was pretty disciplined, and made sure that my bets were the same size and they were consistent, and it worked out.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's nice when a plan comes to fruition.
Yeah, because that doesn't always happen for us.
No. Well, I think, you know, we definitely took our time. We didn't rush ourselves into making a stupid first move, in which case we'd get down $70 or $50. You know, we started small and then just started working with the rhythm that the table was producing. You know, you could hear when people were upset and things weren't going to happen. You had idiots at the table who were, yeah, there was one guy who was late betting on purpose, you know, waiting for the guy to have dice before he put his bets out there. You know, so I knew that with that guy down there, he wasn't going to have a good long roll because he's going to start getting on your nerves.
Right.
You know, so I'll bet the first couple, and then if it hits, I'll take it down, but then I'm going to go up with my DCs. And sure enough, you know, that's exactly what ended up happening.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really pay attention to the morons today, because other than the guy with the bad cigar, and I really paid attention to him because he had a controversial t-shirt on, but I didn't really have, you know, the two guys at LAUBERGE. The guy at LAUBERGE was only playing 6. He would place a 6, and that was all he was doing.
He was playing for a quarter, too, wasn't he?
And he was playing for a quarter. And so he had dropped one down, and the dealer didn't hear anything, and it had dropped right into the don't pass bar.
Give yourself to the dark side.
And I sat there and watched it because I wasn't playing, so I was paying attention to everything else. And two or three rolls went through, and, you know, he was still on the don't pass.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
The point had already been established, so obviously you can't just place a bet on the don't pass, but
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
the dealer didn't see it. And then a 6 hit, but he didn't even say anything until, well, I think 6 was the point. And he didn't say anything until she had already swept his don't pass line away.
Give yourself to the dark side.
And paid everybody out, and then he was like, "Where's my money?" And she's like, "For what?" And so, but they were knocking down some Jack and Cokes.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, they weren't really paying attention.
Well, no, they weren't paying attention at all.
And, you know, it still is your money out there.
I'm not paying attention to their bets either.
Well, like I said, the only reason I happened to be was because I didn't have any chips on the rail. With no chips being on the rail, that was the only reason I was paying attention to. And the kid was right next to me. That was also.
Yeah.
I am an observant person, but yeah, no, I didn't have any chips on the rail, so I was kind of paying attention to the table, and I was watching people, and I was trying to kind of play the game in my head a little bit.
Yeah. It was. LAUBERGE was our third session. We went over there after we were at Golden Nugget for a couple hours, and then so we just walked over there, and I just had a feeling that this table wouldn't be very productive, and so let's take a shot for a half hour and see what happens. And that's kind of what I did, and ended up paying off pretty well. I was able to read the table pretty well.
Well, and I think that's the one thing we've talked about the most, and today we were successful at it. Was reading the table and mixing up our bets, and just
playing the table instead of trying to push the table around.
Yeah, once or twice I thought to myself, okay, I'm playing against the table. Like the feel of it was going positive, and I had a couple of DCs up or something. And once or twice, I think once, I had a couple of DCs up, but I went up and put up a couple of positive bets and made a little money that way, because my DCs ended up getting picked off. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't really see. Maybe I'm just not paying attention to it as much anymore, because now, especially today, like I said before, if you're just playing past line 6 and 8, even though we always talk about paying attention to your money, you still have a little time that you can kind of look around and see what's going on. But I'm telling you, when I was playing a mixture of both and trying to really watch the table and get a feel for that table, I was not looking up very much, and I feel like I didn't really pay attention to the people that were on the table today at all. Other than the two guys at LAUBERGE, about the 6 that they had on the don't pass.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
But once again, I wasn't playing, so that was why I was able to talk to them a little bit.
Yeah. No, it was just 3 separate games for me. Capri was one game with one style, and then Golden Nugget became another one, and I wasn't playing it the same way at all. Similar, but not the same order. And then increasing bet sizes and decreasing bet sizes. I think one thing I learned was, even though I like playing a regression, you really can only play regression if you're playing positive. I don't really have a system to play regression when I'm on the negative.
Well, on the negative, you don't want to play regression. You want to risk more after the second, third, fourth point.
You go the other way around. So I think I figured a couple of things out.
You can only play regression on positive.
Yeah, well, didn't call me a slow learner. But yeah, no, so a few things worked out. I lost a few big bets, but, I was patient and I didn't chase. I didn't go right back or quickly. I waited for 2-3 shooters. I waited for the opportunity for somebody to mess up. And it was happening. There were a couple of good shooters, and you really couldn't, once they beat you, you really had to just say, okay, they beat me, and then wait for the next guy.
And I did that a couple of times, And I think that's one of the main reasons why we were successful today, is because a lot of times you would keep going back up. You'd get docked off, and you just want to put another bet back up there. And I already said that, but, being disciplined and being able to...
Well, I think we also started playing, a positive number while we were playing don't. At least I was. I was playing an 8 while I had, the don't pass and a couple of don't comes.
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
And then every once in a while I'd have a 5 or a 9 up there, but then when the DC goes to it, then I'd pull it down from the box and then just leave the DC there. That was working for a little bit. But again, it's a lot of exposure. I was trying to hedge my exposure with odds on the pass line, on the don't pass.
Give yourself to the dark side.
But I don't know that I was doing it right.
Well, I think
it gets you're paying. Once you start having don't pass.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
Regular box numbers and don't come and at odds, yeah, now you're paying attention to the table a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that I did quite a few times was instead of trying to lay odds on my don't pass,
Give yourself to the dark side.
To cover my entire DC bet, I was just trying to make sure it was 50%, 60%.
Yeah.
I mean.
I think there's value in having a half a hedge versus a full hedge.
I mean, sometimes, just because it doesn't always roll, or if it does roll this way, you weren't risking as much. So, no, I think it worked out okay for me this time.
Yeah, and I guess we only played ATS on a couple of people, and it actually paid off.
Well, yeah, I didn't play ATS at Isle Capri at all, I don't think. Well, unless I didn't roll at all.
We didn't.
Yeah.
It was only a golden nugget we did.
I played it on a few people, but yeah, I played it on us.
When we threw.
Yeah, I did play it because I won. Somebody else hit it, and I got paid for it. So yeah, I don't remember who that was, but I was on it at the right time. I missed it once though, but
yeah, there was a moment where there was a couple of good a couple of good shooters, and you were included in that, and y'all were hitting a couple of points.
Well, this could be a nasty drive back if it's raining the whole way.
It is going to be raining the whole way. It should be entertaining for our listeners, if this isn't too annoying for the listeners.
Raindrops always want to put me to sleep.
Good thing you're not driving.
Well, and it's definitely good to go home with a W because the last couple of outings have been a little rough for me.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely feels good to come back with more than your goal. We've said it before, any win's a good win, but this one, yeah, this was makes up for a couple of the demoralizing losses we've had lately. The ones that make you realize you're human.
Right. Well, the losses that make you wonder why you continue to gamble.
Well,
if I lose $200 or $300 and I've been playing for 4 or 5 hours, I can write that off to a good time. But when I lose $1,500 or $2,000,
yeah,
that's just that pisses me off.
Yeah, because it took you a while to get your confidence up in order to have that much money at risk to begin with. I mean, you've played for a while. You've really tried to.
But I will say I miss the nickel days. I miss Kashada's $5 table.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I kind of think it was a good thing that Isle Capri was a $10 table because I think it helped us get our confidence going. I mean, we were playing well, but it was also. Well, I guess we didn't. I did play some $10 bets, so you weren't risking as much. You risk a couple 6s and 8s at $10, $12 a piece. That's $24. You only need to hit a $50 don't.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
And you're still making money.
Yeah.
So I think starting at Isle Capri at the lower limit actually was probably a good thing for us, or it's at least something that we should, in the back of our head, remember. Well, and just by kind of trying to play the table, and I believe it was actually my role, but I've been watching the table, and the 4s and 10s just kind of seemed to be popping a little bit when we were at. Was that Isle Capri or Golden Nugget? It was Golden Nugget because I played the 4 and 10, and I had I think the point was 6, and then I played the 8, so I was like 4, 8, and 10 plus 6, and if you hit it once, then you're about even. You're down a couple of bucks, and I ended up hitting him twice, And right when I hit it the second time, I was like, well, I should pull it down. Because, you know, if you get 27 and 27, that's 54. And then if I could have pulled down the 215s, that's 30. So that'd have been $84 to put back on my rail. And I thought about it, and I went ahead and rolled the next one, and then I think I 7'd out, and I didn't get to pull it off. So I left $30 out there that I in my head told myself I should have pulled.
Yeah, I left a few bets out there, but not as many as I used to.
True.
I mean, that's the other thing is we're tightening up. We're not perfect yet.
Well, I mean, this is a game you'll never be perfect. I just like to bat 750.
Right.
Hell, if I could bat 750 on the craps table, we'd be rich people. I got nothing at LAUBERGE, but you know, I try to play at LAUBERGE, and I guess I could have jumped on that table with you this time, but most of the time we just could never get on the tables there. But that was a $25 table, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. Not that really changed how you were playing that much, because I didn't really.
No, it was fitting my style.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the thing. I'd already gone to my green chip system, so jumping on a $25 table was nothing. Yeah, it hurt when you lose, you know, $75 a swing sometimes. But, you know, stick with the plan, and it worked out.
And you were doing hopping sevens for 5 apiece.
It was when I decided to play heavy on the don't, I decided to hedge on. So I was hopping red, and then I was doubling up on the yo.
And if that yo had hit, that would have paid you 100. Yeah, that would have paid you really well. Well, I say really well. It would have, but then it would have just covered. You'd have got your 75 plus. I mean, you would have made money for sure, but yeah, you got to protect yourself.
Well, it started to make I lost a couple of times, and so it started to make a little bit of sense of, you know, it's basically another quarter. It was a quarter to hedge, and so I just basically had to make up that quarter with
we talked about that.
Adding one more DC. So instead of just playing a don't pass and 2 DCs, I was playing 3 DCs to catch up for that initial hedge. And it worked 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah, I threw for a couple of HARDWAYS when I was on the don't, and it was like, you know, 4 or 10. I would throw out a $5 or a $10 bet to cover the HARDWAYS, because then that cuts down the number of different combinations for a 4 or a 10.
Yeah.
But never, you know, it either they hit it easy or they hit it or they 7'd out. So I never got paid on that at all. I think I only did it 2 or 3 times.
Okay. Not too bad.
I didn't play any field bets. I didn't hop anything. Oh, I hopped something once. Oh no, I meant a HARDWAYS. Yeah, I kept it pretty simple. But it just seemed like I said, when you're playing, not, because if you're playing 2 DCs and you've got 2 positive bets and a fast line bet, that's 5 different things that you're having to watch out for.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have time to play any of the other bets, which aren't things I usually play anyway. So now I thought I stuck to my attack plan pretty well today, and it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty good day. I don't know, I think 2 hours a session is long enough for us.
That's exactly what it was at Isle Capri and Golden Nugget.
Yeah, I mean, we both could have left earlier. I mean, we could have left both earlier. There were times where we were up, but, you know, it didn't feel like we were there too long. I thought it was, you know, within limit.
Oh, it's just magical how you get onto a table and time just ceases to exist.
Oh, there's that. Yeah, well, we are coming home late, and I didn't expect it to be quite this late. And I hope y'all are enjoying the rain, because we are.
That's coming down pretty good.
So, again, we want to thank everybody for listening, for bearing with us, and hope you are enjoying these things as much as we are, and hopefully you're going out to the casino and making some of your own experiences as well.
I would hope so. If you're sitting there listening to us and not playing, something's wrong with you.
Well, if you're not near a casino, you can't really get blamed for that too much.
Well, that's true, but you can go on vacation and go gamble.
Well, yeah, you practice.
We're talking about practice, man. I mean, how silly is that, man? We're talking about practice.
You save up, and you go on a trip. Make a hit, go find places to go where you can be successful. That's what we've been doing. So, anyway, thanks for listening. We'll talk to y'all later.
Cheers.
Coming up on our next episode, we are back on the road, discussing our ever-changing and evolving craps strategies as we take our success back out to the casinos of Lake Charles, Louisiana. The Red Eye Gamblers, thank you for your time, and hope you got a little something out of this week's podcast.
Here's to rolling sevens on the come out, and may your sixes and eights always be hard. Cheers.